Welcome, everyone. We're so excited to have you join us today. Business and financial literacy teachers from the extreme north to the extreme south have registered for this event, and everywhere in between, as some of you have already met each other. Thank you for being here. You notice some of the housekeeping items on the screen. I don't think that that's a problem. I won't go over those again. But if you do have a question, just practice raising your hand at the on the participants sheet, and or go ahead and chat. Put something in the chat box. This is the first financial literacy webinar provided to you by the ILCTE Innovative Curriculum Resources Project and the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. Today we have Mary Studer, Vice President of the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, and business teacher Vicki Fuhrhop from Collinsville High School to bring you a plethora of financial literacy curriculum for you to use for free, and for you to get some ideas of how Vicki uses her curriculum from the Federal Reserve Bank. She's also graciously offered to share a couple of documents with you, which I will send to you at the conclusion of this webinar. So welcome, and I do hope that you will be patient with us as we move from one presenter to another, and because there is a slight delay whenever we do that. So I am going to turn it over to Mary as the next presenter.
Okay, are we?
You are on. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much, Diane. As Diane said, I'm Mary Studer. I'm with the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, and I'm responsible for financial and education outreach for the bank. And I thought I'd talk a little bit about the bank. So first, I have to say that anything I say is my opinion and not that of the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis or the Federal Reserve System. So it's not an official Fed talk if you don't hear that. And I thought I'd talk a little bit about the formation of the Federal Reserve System. So as a result of countless bank panics and crises, culminating with the one in 1907, where we had inelastic currency and no lender of last resort. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Resulted in the establishment of the Federal Reserve. And the Federal Reserve Act created the Federal Reserve System in 1913. And it was established in a kind of a centralized, decentralized fashion. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And our primary goal was to provide money and credit in the appropriate amounts in the financial system, regulate and supervise financial institutions, and we serve as a bank and a fiscal agent for the U.S. government. So we are not, the Federal Reserve banks are not part of the U.S. government, but we serve as a fiscal agent for the U.S. Treasury. And so over time, our role has changed, but those were the official kind of assignments of the Fed when it was first created. And so it's different. So if you look at other central banks, there's one central bank in Australia, there's one central bank in Germany. But we have a kind of, as I said, a decentralized or a federal arrangement so that we have the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, which is in Washington, D.C., but we also have 12 Federal Reserve banks that are located around the country. And so the power is shared between that Federal Reserve system, the Federal Reserve Board of Governors in Washington, D.C., and these individual banks that are located around the country. So if you look at the Federal Reserve, you have the Federal Reserve Act, and then we have the Board of Governors. So the President of the United States nominates members to the Board of Governors. The Board of Governors is the chief governing body of the Federal Reserve System. and the president nominates one of those board members to be the chair. So currently Jerome Powell is the chairman of the Board of Governors. And if you've kind of followed things before the impeachment process got really hot, President Trump had nominated 2 new members for the Board of Governors, one of whom is Chris Waller, who's the Director of Research here at the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. So once those are nominated, they are then moved to the Senate, and the Senate confirms those 7 members. And those 7 members serve 14-year terms, so their terms are staggered. A new term, a new person starts every 2 years. Maybe if you could mute yourself, if you're not talking, that would be very helpful. Anyway, so they have those 7 members with a chair and a vice chair. And that Board of Governors then works with the 12 reserve banks. The 12 reserve bank presidents and the 7 Board of Governors meet about every 4 to 6 weeks, and they are the members of the Federal Open Market Committee. So when last week you heard that the Federal Reserve had not changed its interest rate policy, that was a decision of that Federal Open Market Committee, those 7 members of the Board of Governors and the 12 Reserve Bank presidents who met and made that decision. So they meet periodically. So they're making decisions, not just those folks in Washington, but also those people who are located throughout the country, those 12 Reserve Bank presidents, come together to make monetary policy decisions. And so you'll see this is a map of the Federal Reserve System, and you'll see there are 12 Federal Reserve banks, and we are the 8th district of the Federal Reserve, with St. Louis being the home office for the 8th district. But those blue triangles that you see represent that we have a branch in Little Rock, a branch in Memphis, and a branch in Louisville. And so these banks serve commercial banks throughout the district and also serve our constituents within the districts. So you might ask yourself, why is the Federal Reserve System interested in economic and financial education? So I put a picture up here of our president, James Bullard, and one of the things that he talked about when he first became president of the St. Louis Fed in 2009, he talked about the fact that economics, people often think economics is complicated, and so people can't learn it, but in reality, we live with the consequences of economics and supply and demand every day. So having an understanding of the system and how it works is really critical for an informed populace, for a voting population. So it's a civic goal in many ways to make sure that people understand the economic system in which they live. And then Ben Bernanke, who was the chair during the Great Recession, talks about the need for economic and financial education here in these 2 quotes. And he's talking about how important it is because it supports the well-being of individuals if they're making more informed, better informed financial decisions, but it also supports the economy as a whole. So if people are making poor decisions, whether they're making them as an individual, whether they're making them as a banker, whether they're making them as a business owner, if they're making poor decisions, those decisions aggregate up and hurt the economy as a whole. So if people make better economic and financial decisions personally in their role as business, employer, employee, those aggregate up to make the economy healthier. So in terms of the Federal Reserve System, we're supporting economic and financial education because we think it contributes to economic stability. And one of our goals as the Federal Reserve is to promote economic stability in the economy. So across the system, at all of the banks, there is some effort on the part of an economic education staff to provide financial and economic education support and help. And each bank does it differently. For us in St. Louis, we have a commitment to providing high quality materials and professional development for teachers. And we work with teachers pre-K through college level. So one of the things that we have, and Vicki will talk about this more in a moment, but one of the things that we have is the Econ Lowdown teacher portal. And that teacher portal is a place where you as a teacher can go and set up a classroom, register as an instructor first, set up a classroom, then enroll your students in the classroom and assign your students resources that we've created, as well as not just our resources, but resources from the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, Philadelphia, Kansas City, Chicago, Cleveland. There are resources back there from 10 banks, the Board of Governors, the FINRA Foundation, and the Currency Board of the United States. So a wide array of videos, online modules or courses, audio, podcast-like pieces, as well as material your students can read. And the thing about the portal is you are able to get for each video or podcast or reading, there's some type of assessment, and typically the system scores that assessment for you, and you can get the results of the assessment and pull it into your grade book or your LMS system. So the portal is designed to really allow you to easily use these materials with your students, and I think Vicki will spend some time showing you how she does that in her classroom. Then if we continue from there, we have another website. Let me get to that. I'm sorry for the, but we also offer print resources. So often teachers will ask us, okay, we've got all this online stuff, but we want some active learning. We want some hands-on things that students can use, that we can do with our students in the classroom. We don't just want them to watch videos or be engaged in an online module. And so what you'll find here at the stlouisfed.org website is that set of resources. We have resources, print resources that you can download and use free of charge. And those are a variety of resources. We have some in all of them are in English. We have some in Spanish, but we have all kinds of activities and lessons. And I'm just going to type in one here.
Mary,
Mary,
we can't see that you're on your, yeah,
I'm sorry.
you need to do a new share.
Thank you for telling me.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I've typed in on the website, I've typed in one of our resources, which is Making Personal Finance Decisions, which is a curriculum. And it is a curriculum with 20 lessons. And you'll see here that you are able to download the lessons. We provide the PowerPoint slides for you for any lesson that requires PowerPoint slides. All of that can be downloaded free of charge and used by anyone across the United States. So those are the types of resources we have in terms of print materials. But we have many more. We have over 400 resources there for pre-K through through college. And with those resources, as I pointed, since you didn't see the first screen, you are able to filter by grade level. You are able to filter by language, by subject. So we have resources for personal finance. We have resources for use in an economics class, a government class, an AP economics class. We have resources of a variety of types. So as I said, activities, lesson plans, things for smart boards, and then you can also sort by filter by concept. So we really have two sources of material for you because we want you to be able to differentiate for your learners using different materials that might engage them, whether it's an active learning game or simulation or a video in your classroom. And all of our materials are aligned with standards, as Vicki's going to talk about. And I'm going to, if we can go ahead and turn this over to Vicki so she can share the resources and how she uses them.
Okay. Vicki.
hello.
There you go. Hi. So do a new share.
Okay. All right. Hello, can you see the screen?
Yeah, yes,
Okay, it should say Econ Lowdown.
correct.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I hope you're doing good this evening. And so I'm here tonight to talk to you from a teacher's perspective. So just like you, I'm a classroom teacher. I've been teaching at Collinsville High School for 21 years in the business department. And I've been using the Fed's resources pretty much since they've been in existence. I know especially for the online portal here that I'm going to show you first, about 10 years using this. So I'm just going to jump right in. So after the webinar tonight, we've shared 2 documents with you that Diane's going to send out. And that first document, let me pull it up here. Okay, hopefully you can see this. It's a PDF, and it says sample of Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis resources aligned with the National Financial Literacy Standards for Personal Finance and Consumer Education. So this is a document I created, and I find it useful, and hopefully I hope you will too. So like many of you are teaching personal finance or consumer education, I took what I did is I took all the national financial literacy standards, and then I took all the resources that the St. Louis Fed has, and I've entered them here in this PDF by standard. So you can see, for example, on page 1, the first standard, earning income. And then what you will see underneath that is all the different types of resources that the Fed has, and what type of resource it is. So for example, audio Q&A, that would be like a podcast that a student would listen to, and then they could take a short quiz assessment afterwards. There's courses, and courses are like modules. They're pre and post tested. So the students, before they begin the online course, they'll take a pre-test. So you'll see how much they know before they begin. And then they'll be able to work through the lesson and take a post-test after that. So you will have that data, so that growth. So I know if your schools are like mine, it's very important that we're showing student growth. So those courses that are pre and post tested are great for that. There's reading Q&As, where these are articles that have been written. So the student reads an article on a certain topic, and then they can take a short assessment. And these, all these assessments are objective. So some of them are multiple choice, short answer. And then as the teacher, you'll be able to see their responses, go in, grade it, and return it to them. There's video Q&As where students will watch short videos, and then they can watch the videos as many times as they would like. And then there's a quiz assessment after the video. And then, as Mary talked to you about, they also have a different website where you can go out and get hard copy lessons. So since the Fed has so many resources, it's kind of hard sometimes as a teacher. It's like, well, where is what I want based on the content that I'm teaching right now, whatever unit you might be in or whatever topic you're covering. So hopefully when Diane shares this with you, you will find it useful, because it takes the national standard, and then you will be able to go through, and hopefully you can see the scrolling here on the screen, and see all the different lessons based on those standards. At the very last page of this document, you will see there's 3 curriculum units that they have, and you will have links. So anything that you see here is in purple is an active link, so that when you click on this, it will actually take you either to a preview or to the actual site. And then the very last thing on this page is, and I'll demonstrate this for you tonight. They have like online practice flashcards where students can go out to the site, and if they're just looking for a resource to help them practice and reinforce content, there's flashcards that they can practice with online. So this is one of the documents that Diane will be sharing afterwards. And then the other document that Diane will share is, what I've done here is the Illinois State Board of Education, we have standards, right? And so the Illinois Social Science Learning Standards have recently, over the last couple of years, come out with financial literacy standards now. And So this document that I'm going to share it takes all of the Fed's resources and it aligns them with not only the national standards, so you will see the green column are all the national standards, and then it also takes them and aligns them with the Illinois social science learning standards for financial literacy. And you will see that like the peach column is for grade 6 through 8, and then the middle column is for grades 9 through 12. So if you have to have a lesson in your lesson plan and you also have to align it with standards, this is a really quick access guide to where you can go out and you can see exactly which standards they align with. So hopefully you will find both of these documents helpful. So now what I want to do is, if you're like me and you're a teacher, you're like, okay, well, I actually want to see how I use the resources. So if you are sitting in front of a computer this evening, the first site I'm going to introduce is it's called Econ Lowdown, and that is the online like management system where you can go out. So if you're able to go out to and click on from your browser econlowdown.org, it should take you to this site. So let me see here. So if you go out to Google and just type in Econ Lowdown, and could you see me do that? I just want to verify.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I just want to make sure we're good. All right, so when you get to this site, if you do not have an account, and I'm just going to go under the assumption right now that a lot of you online tonight do not have an account, it's really simple. Right here over on the right-hand side, you would just click where it says register for a free account. And then just simply fill out your first and last name, your email address, confirm it. Down here, you have the options whether you wanted to subscribe to anything, select the little I'm not a robot, and register for your account. So it's really easy to register for an account. So now I'm just going to step back, and I'm going to assume that once you register for account, all you will have to do is log in. So I'm going to go ahead and log in to my account. So when you log into your account, it'll tell you hi, and you'll have your name, and then you'll be able to, this is the kind of the starting point. So I'm going to click on where it says My Classrooms. And you can see over here on the left-hand side of your screen, this is my current quarter and semester classes that I have, and then you'll also see some individual students' names. So I have 3 consumer education classes. So here in the state of Illinois, students have to meet the consumer education requirement. So this first, third, and fourth hour class that you see meets that requirement. And then we have a personal finance class here at our high school that's 11th through 12th. And I heard one of the teachers mention early on before we started the webinar tonight that her class is a dual credit class, and this class is as well. So here in the area where I'm at, I'm in Collinsville, Illinois, we have this personal finance class is dual credit with Southwestern Illinois College. So the students are not only getting the high school credit, they're getting the college credit as well. And then you'll see I have just some individual student names. So a lot of times issues happen. You might have a student who goes homebound, or we also have a program here at our high school called the K-Hawk Academy for students who are struggling being successful in school. So the nice thing about this program is I can go in and I can create curriculum for an individual student to kind of be geared specifically towards them. So what I want to do first is, so my classes are set up, right? So you're going to come in here and you're going to click on My Classrooms, and you're not going to see anything. So let's talk about how you would add a new classroom. So over here where it says Add a Classroom, it's going to be the first thing on your screen. So you actually wouldn't even have to click it. So right in the center of your screen, it would say Add a New Classroom. So you could just name your classroom. So whatever that might be. So I'll just I'll just start with one of my next semester courses. So next semester, I know I have first hour, and this would be, what is it? Third quarter consumer education. So I've been using this a long time, so I think it's always a good idea. I've learned over the course of using the program that I need to start adding some specific dates as far as semester goes, because when I go back into my archive classes, you can see there's an archive tab. If I ever want to pull up a course from the past, it's easy if I have it so where it's dated to what semester and year that was. So then you can just put a date in. So for example, if and then I'm just going to make up a date here. And then you just click on create. So now you can see that the class would populate over on the left-hand side of your screen. So I have that class, and now I get to choose how I want my students to log in to the program. So here at Collinsville, we are a Google school. So all of our students have been issued a Google Chromebook. So they've recently came what's called a Google login. So this is really nice. I can click on login with Google. And then just make sure that, it's letting you know, please don't do this if your students aren't 13 or older, but if you're teaching in a high school setting, that's probably not an issue. If you are at a junior high or a middle school level, you just need to make sure that the emails aren't being saved. And Mary, do you want to address that there's nothing really else they need to know about that, is there? Okay. Oh, you're muted, Mary.
No, there's really, so you mean about security for the students?
Yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to say anything at this point in time about that or not, in case they had any questions.
So you can put in student emails if your students are older than 13. But once a year for any course that's completed, we strip out those emails, so we're not retaining any information about your students. Thanks, Vicki.
Okay. So if you want to have them log in with Google, then you'll just click yes or no. So I'll just affirm that my students are 13 or older. And then this is really nice. So then all you need to do is share the classroom code. So however you share information in the classroom with your students. For me personally, I have a website for my classroom. So I post this code out with this link that you'll see right here. And I post the link, I post the code, and then the students log in to their Google account. And they click on the link, they put in the code, and it's really simple. So once you do it the first time, you usually won't have any problems. Now, I'm just gonna go back here. Hopefully this is gonna work. I can't go back. Okay. So really quick, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna put a test classroom in here just really quick, because I do want to show you something else. Okay, so if you're not a Google school and that logging in with Google won't be an option for you, there are other ways that you can do that. So the second option here where it says log in with Econ Lowdown, you would click this, and there's a couple of different ways you could do this. You can add the students in yourself by typing in their first name, last initial, and if you wanted to add their email address, you could. You could have it auto create. You can import it with like a CSV file. So lots of different ways that you can create your classroom for some reason if you're not a Google school. So I'm just going to go back now to the class. So here was that class I just created using Google. And if you look, you will see that I have not added any content yet. So now you have to figure out, well, what do you want to, what is it that you want to add so that your students can start learning? So a good place to start is kind of maybe see what you're teaching now, if you've been teaching it, and then go to this document that Diane's going to share with you and look at the different types of resources. Or the other way, which is just as easy, is there's a resource gallery. So up here at the top, one of the links says resource gallery. And if you click on that, you'll be able to go out and see all the different types of resources that are out there. And what's really nice about this is that you can filter through to find exactly what you're looking for. So for example, if you're teaching consumer ed or personal finance, and let's say one of the topics, say you're on credit. So you could come here to resource type. You could, if you wanted to see all the different resources, you could just leave them all unchecked. If you wanted to see a specific type of resources, you could, check which ones that you're looking for. Okay. So I'm just going to leave them all unchecked right now, which means it's going to search for all the different types of resources. Come over here to subject. So if you were strictly looking for personal finance or consumer ed resources, you could select that. And then if you wanted just to see all the resources, you could click apply. Or if you're looking for a specific topic, you could come for the topic you're looking at. So let's say you're teaching credit. So you would select credit. And then if you even wanted to filter farther through grade and just look for middle school and high school resources, you could select that and then click apply. So then here you would be able to see all those different resources for teaching credit at the middle school and high school level. And the nice thing here is you can preview every single lesson. So for example, this is, I'm just going to use this one as an example. So I scroll down here, there's a video and it's entitled Understanding How FICO Credit Score is Determined. So I use this video all the time when I'm teaching students about, I assign this, I should say, all the time when I'm teaching students about understanding their credit score. So as the teacher, I could click on preview. Over here, I could see what the video is going to be about on the left-hand side. I could see about how long it would take the students. So it's going to take the students approximately 15 minutes to watch the video, take the quiz. And then as the teacher, I could click the play button and it would preview it. And I would be able to actually watch the video myself as the instructor. And then at the bottom right hand of the video, it says, I've got this quiz me. And if I click on that, do you guys see that quiz or not?
Yes.
You do? Okay, great. So then this is what the students would see. So they would go through and then, and this short quiz, there's 10 questions. And so the students would go through, and if they get the question right or wrong, I'm sorry, if they get it correct, it tells them. And if they get it, so going through, if they get it wrong, and I'm just going to get this wrong intentionally, it tells them they get it wrong. So, and I'm just gonna go ahead and exit out. So the students would answer the 10 questions, and then when they're done, oops, I'm sorry about that. So when they're done, the nice thing about the videos is they could watch them again if they would like, and they can take the quizzes as many times as they would like to. So as the teacher, you can go in and you can preview all the lessons before you assign them. So for example, let me demonstrate a course. So up here, there's a lesson entitled Cards, and Currency. You can click on that. And you can see that you'll see what it's about. So this one is on credit as well. So you could see what the students are going to learn while they complete this course. Over here on the left-hand side, the students would see they would do the pre-test. So you could see the pre-test they were going to have to take. And then over here, you can see all the segments of the course. And then as the teacher, you could walk through this yourself before you assign it. And I will tell you, as a teacher who's been using this program for many years, I've done this multiple ways. I mean, I have assigned where students are doing it independently, sometimes like a flipped classroom assignment. There's been times I give time in my classroom for students to begin working on assignment, and there's been times that I'll have them pull it up with me on their computer. I teach in a computer lab, so it's kind of nice. I can have them pull the lesson up, I can pull it up on my screen, and I can work through the lesson with the students at the same time. So there's a lot of flexibility in how you would do this. One thing I do want to do is go back to my classrooms now. And I just want to show you one of my, well, let me do one more thing. I'm sorry. I do want to show you something. I forgot a very important thing to show you. I showed you how to preview the lesson, but I didn't show you how to assign it, which you really need to know how to do. So I'm going to go back here again and filter. So I'm just going to pick a couple lessons. So let's just say I decide I want to do these lessons. So I check them, and once I check them, at the bottom, you guys are, I just noticed I have to move this bar out of the way. Hold on. There we go. I click on Add to Classroom. And then it's going to ask me which classroom I want to add it to. So if you've created more than one classroom, so I'll just add it here to this new classroom I created tonight. So I select that and then click Finish Adding. And then I have to go out to my classroom now to publish the changes. So I'll click on that link. And now I can see those resources. So now here my syllabus, which was completely empty when I first created a class, will have these 3 new resources and assignments for my students to complete. So the nice thing about it, you can reorganize the order if you want by clicking and dragging them. You can click on the little date icon to change when you want it to start and when you want it to end. And you know everybody's different. I've done this different ways throughout the course of the year. Sometimes I will have the beginning date be the first date of the semester and the ending date the last date of the semester or quarter. Or sometimes I will actually say, okay, I'm going to start this topic, on January 13th. And I know we're going to be spending maybe the next 2 weeks on the topic. So I'm going to give students the opportunity to have 2 weeks to complete these assignments. So it's completely up to you as the teacher. You have a lot of flexibility there. But once you decide on the dates and you're all done with everything, the most important thing that you need to do is come over here to the right-hand side and you will see a Publish button, and you want to click on Publish, because your students will not see anything until you hit this Publish button. So now if your students were to log into their account, they would see these 3 assignments and they would be able to go in and start completing them. And then as you add new resources, so if you were to go out to the resource gallery, add some more resources again, when you come back into your syllabus, you would have to, make all the date changes or whatever was necessary and then hit Publish again. So each time you add new resources, it's very important that you remember that you have to go out and hit that Publish button for your students to see it. So now what I want to demonstrate is I'm going to go to one of my current classes. So I'm just going to click on this consumer education class I'm teaching right now. And you can see all the different lessons that I've assigned over the course of this quarter with my students. And there's all different types. Some of these have been audio, a lot of videos, a lot of courses. There's a couple reading Q&As in there. So these are all the lessons that my students have had. Now, if I click on the students button up here at the top next to the right of the word syllabus, here's all my students in the class. For example, if I have a student who for some reason had to drop my class or transferred schools and I needed to take them off my roster, I could click the trash can button and it would say, are you sure you want to delete this student? And then I would be able to delete them if I needed to. If I click on student progress, I would be able to go in and see if it was a course that I assigned that was pre and post tested, I would be able to see all of those. I could see all video, audio and video assignments, or I could see a PDF of all of the assignments at one time. However, one other thing I want to show you, I'm going to go back to my syllabus here. So I'm just going to click on this first lesson I had assigned. So if I click on that lesson, and then I click on student progress, I will be able to see my students, I will see their pre-test score, I will see if they completed it, and then I will see their post-test score for each student. So now I could take that information, I have the ability to sort it, so I always like to sort it in alphabetical order, and then I can create it into an Excel spreadsheet, a CSV file, or if I just wanted to print it out, I'd have the ability to go in and print and make a copy and just print it out. So, you know, once you go in and assign your resources, it's, you know, it's pretty user friendly after that point for the teacher. And one other thing I do want to show you in the resource gallery. So a lot of times you're thinking, well, you know, that's really great, but I don't have the time to go out and search every one of those lessons and create my own syllabus. So if you go back out into the resource gallery, you can actually, under resource type, if you select syllabus, you can see there are already some syllabi created for different. So they have one for like a Missouri personal finance class. But the other thing I want to show you, and I want to figure out, so they have some. Now you would see like there's a microeconomics. So if you have a micro, if you're teaching an economics class, I know some business departments still have econ, sometimes it's in social studies. But the other thing is, once you do take the time to create your syllabus, up here where it says My Resources tab, I can go back in, and these are all my different syllabuses for all the years I've been using it and for all the different classes I've taught. So you can see there's quite a bit of them, but I can go in and I could pick one of these and I could reuse it. So I wouldn't have to go through the resource gallery and constantly be creating and adding those resources. So for example, if you know, once you take the time to spend the time and create a classroom for a class, it makes it pretty easy to go back in there in the future for other classes or other semesters or quarters and just reuse that syllabus, so you don't have to recreate. The only thing you would need to do is like change dates and publish it and add a new classroom. But I would be happy at this point if anybody out there has any specific questions about the online program, I would be happy to answer that before I move to the next part. So does anybody have any questions at this point? I gotta
just unmute your microphone and go ahead and talk.
So I'm assuming we have no
questions so far.
No questions. Okay.
Let's see, Kim has a chat. Oh, it looks pretty simple, she said. Thank you.
Okay.
Chris asked how you like the assessments on the site.
Well, I mean, I've been very happy with them. So, you know, let me talk to a couple of those. So like I explained with the videos and the audios, so let me pull one of those up here. So with the videos and the audios, the students can go out there and they can watch the video as many times as they want, and then they can take the quiz as many times as they want. And what I have found with my students is that, and I'm sure you would have some of the same experiences with, you know, middle school and high school students, is that, you know, if they watch the video, I know they always learn something. And then it's really nice to be able to watch the video more than one time for reinforcement and for learning. And I mean, the assessments I think are like, you know, a good assessment. If the students have taken the time to watch the video, listen to the audio, whatever it is, they usually find that they will do pretty good on the questions. But the nice thing about them being able to go in and do it more than one time is for that reinforcement. So most of the time on the video and audio assessments, if the student takes the time, watches or listens to it, and has the opportunity to do the assessment multiple times, usually what I see is 100% on the quizzes. Now I have a lot of times students don't want to listen or watch it, and they'll want to jump right to the assessment. And I've had many times where a student has taken the quiz, you know, 18 times so they could get 100%. But if nothing else, that reinforcement, hopefully they're learning something along the way. So with the courses that are pre and post tested, so I'm going to go in to one of those. That would be a lesson like this. You know, it's really nice to see the pre and post data. So for example, you know, and when we have these discussions in class, once I see their score, so I can see, you know, she scored 100% on the pre-test, but only scored a 75 on the post-test. So, you know, that allows me to go in, see the questions that if the students are missing, why they're missing them. And then if I really feel like a student needs to repeat it, maybe because they have an IEP and they need another chance, or just because I feel like the student needs to put a little more effort through, you do have the ability as the teacher to go in over on the post-test and reset it so that the student can have another chance. And with the courses, and this is just for the courses, you do only have one opportunity to reset that as the teacher. And then one other lesson that is in are what are called reading Q&As. So I'm going to open up one of those, and I will just show you from a preview. So this is an article that the student would read. So this article right here just happens to be about the importance of pursuing education and how that relates to your income earning potential. So the students go in, they read the articles. There are a lot of times there's graphics and charts in there. And then once they go through the article, so you can see they scroll through here, they click on the next button up at the top of the screen, and they're able to go in and take the assessment for the article. And until they hit the submit button up here, they're able to go back, review the article. And then as the instructor, once students complete this in your portal, you will see that these reading Q&As have been completed and they're ready for you to go out and grade as the instructor. So this is the only, the reading Q&As are the only thing as the instructor you will have to go out and look at. Everything else is graded for you, and you will see their progress out here.
So Vicki, there's a question about exporting grades to Google Classroom. So I thought I'd mention, we have Google Sign-In, so you can use that as a way to have your students sign into the course. In terms of exporting your grades, you can take them into an Excel spreadsheet or a CSV file and then put them into your Google Classroom. But we don't have a direct link for grades with Google Classroom yet. We're investigating options for how we can do that with Google Classroom and with LMS systems like Canvas, but we don't have all of that nailed down yet. So I hope that answers the Google Classroom question. And then adding resources other than those from the Fed, that's the other question. So I believe that you can perhaps put a link in your syllabus to another resource, but it doesn't pull it into our system for grading or anything like that. So that would be the caveat, is that you're linking them to something outside of the Econ Lowdown system, which is fine, but it wouldn't be then part of the grading system or anything like that within Econ Lowdown.
Yeah, and then, yeah, as Mary said, inside of each classroom individually, there's a resources link that takes you to the resource gallery, but only for that class. And then there is a custom content button where you can add your own stuff in here. And then Mary just addressed, you can put the information out there, it's just not into their system. So.
And in terms of assessment, there's also the option for you to add a written assessment if you want to so they watch a video and they answer our questions, but maybe you want them to write something. You can also add a written assessment.
And so you can see that up here. Let me go back to the classroom here. So up here where it says written assessment, you would just click on that and then create the assessment. And then when you're done and have everything in, just click the create assessment button. And then that goes to the syllabus page. And then once again, just like any of the other lessons, you could date it and then you'd have to publish it when it's done. I do notice that we're kind of getting close to the time. So one other thing I wanted to show you, as Mary mentioned earlier on, is that if you want to do more active learning lessons in the classroom, if you go out to, let me make sure you can see the screen.
We see it.
Okay, if you go out to the stlouisfed.org, click on Economic Education, Econ Ed at the St. Louis Fed. This will take you to the resource page. And as Mary explained earlier, you can filter through. So if you're looking for a high school lesson, you can click on high school and then come down here and filter what you're looking for. So for example, if you're looking for an activity to do with the students in the class, and maybe you're looking for something on, I'll just put credit again. Then you could go through. So this is a great lesson. I use this all the time, credit history and equal opportunity lesson. So you can go out here. They have the PowerPoint that you would need that you could open up as the instructor. So here you would have the PowerPoint that you would need for the lesson, and then there's the lesson PDF that you can open up. You'd be able to read through the lesson. You would see, what the objectives are for the lesson, how long it would take, and then any materials that you're going to need, you'd be able to get together ahead of time. And then the nice thing about the lessons is that it will actually give you step-by-step procedures. So for me, I've been teaching 21 years. If I'm using a lesson after a while, I really don't need the procedures a lot, but the nice thing about it is if you're a new teacher or teaching the course for the first time or doing a lesson for the first time, those step-by-step procedures are there to help you out and guide you along the way. And these here would be all active learning lessons. So where you would be doing stuff, with the students in the classroom. So they're not just sitting behind, their computer doing an online assignment. So the portal, the Econ Lowdown portal, this is how you would assign those online assignments. And then if you go out to just the Fed's website, oops, sorry. The controls are in my way here tonight. At the top of the screen. There we go. This website is where you would go to find the active learning lessons that you could use. And so is there any questions?
There's one more question from John. He wants to know if he can share his syllabus or class materials easily with other teachers.
I'm not assuming I understand the question.
So you can't really share, so you can't make your syllabus available to another teacher through the portal. You could print your syllabus and give it to another teacher, and they could then set it up using the same resources that you've used, set up their own syllabus for the classroom. You can share any of the resources on our public website with another teacher, but at this point, we don't have it set up so that you can easily share a syllabus with another teacher. I think there may be a mechanism for doing it, John, but I have to ask another person here about that. But it's not so easy that you just click it and make it available to another teacher.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much, Vicki and Mary, for sharing this information. I believe that it will be very valuable to those of you who are present tonight.
Well, and I'd like to thank everybody that's joined us for taking the time at this busy time of the year to be with us, even for an hour. I know you had to really work hard to get that hour out of your day, so thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you too. And the other thing is, and I believe Mary, did you want to share the screen with Mary so Mary could put up our contact information? Can you still see my screen?
I can.
Yeah.
Okay, here it is.
Well, while we're getting there's our contact information, and please reach out to us if there's anything that we can help you with in terms of using the resources or finding what you need. We'd be happy to help you.
Yes, and like we said earlier, the two documents that I showed you earlier, Mary is actually, I'm sorry, not Mary, Diane's going to actually be sending those out to you.
Right.
So feel free to, you can contact Diane to get that information, but if you just have a specific question or something, feel free to shoot me an email if I can answer it for you.
Okay. Thank you very much, ladies. That was great. I need you, all of the participants, to go to our website, which is ilcte.org, ilcte.org, and we are going to need to do an evaluation. So, Vicki, if you could stop sharing.
Okay.
Okay. My controls are on the way too. There we go. ilcte.org is where you will go, and you will go to take our surveys. And once you do that, you will find, let me do another share. Once you do that, you will see, that it goes to another page that has two surveys that I need you to fill out. One has your personal information for the professional development credit, which means it's just asking your name and your school and your email address so that I can send that information to get your PDs to you. And the other one is the financial literacy evaluation, the evaluation form for this session. So do you have any questions at all? Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Please let us know if this is a good way for you to get professional development in the future, because we've been talking about possibly doing some follow-up resources for you as well. So I appreciate everything that I appreciate Vicki and Mary for being a part of this, and thank you all for joining us. So have a great holiday, and hope to see you sometime soon.
Thank you, Diane.
Welcome.
Diane.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.